Good morning, good evening, good night. Welcome to the show, what a wonderful delight. Potsy and T-Ross better chop up on the mic. Just sit back, have a laugh, catch a vibe, and enjoy the ride.
Mine says Ann Serra. Let me change my name.
Ann Serra,
Ann Serra.
Yeah, that's my wife. Let me change this shit.
She's got Zoom calls going.
How is this podcast now? I don't want to use a potty mouth, or what is this?
You can say whatever the fuck you want.
Good.
Oh yeah.
That's what we get in trouble for a lot too. I've cursed so much on like live radio.
Yo, yeah.
People just don't tell me before going on. I just get like too comfortable.
Well, nice to meet you, man. Nice to meet you,
Nice
Terrence.
to meet you, man. Thank you so much for doing this.
No problem, man. No problem.
Yes,
I just got a green screen for my podcast.
Oh, nice.
With Jim Norton. So, I'm excited to use this freaking thing.
That's the next step for us because I'm tired of looking at this fucking weird thing.
I'm in my bedroom too, Yeah. I used to travel. I'm in Long Island, New York, and I used to travel 2 days a week into Manhattan, and we had a studio there on 37th Street and 5th. And, it was cool, man, because, when I was coming up, I used to be in the city, even though I'm from Long Island. My college was the Hensel Gracie Academy in the city there. Nice. And it was reminiscent of my 20s and stuff. Just, because 2 days in the week in the city, that's just about enough for me right now.
Yeah, I feel you, man. I'm out of the city, and it's growing on me being out in the neighborhoods and the suburbs. It's nice and quiet. Don't have to deal with all that extra bullshit. So,
Where you guys from?
Portland, Oregon.
We're both from Portland, but he lives in Orlando, and I'm in.
I live in Florida right now.
Yeah, so my buddy John Burke, another jiu-jitsu man I know for a long time. He told me that you're doing this podcast and everything. So I said, yeah, man, sure, I'll jump on. How do you know John? Are you training jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, actually, I just started taking classes. I've known John for maybe like a year and a half. I've known him through like our wives and their friends of friends. And then, when they get together, we all kind of end up meeting. So I met him like a year and a half ago, maybe, I want to say, through some people. So, but yeah, I started getting into like this whole MMA thing again. And I was like, you know what, let me take some classes. And so I hit up John, and he's like, yeah, bro, I'm super into that's my field right there. So I'll be doing that with him. And then, it just kind of took off.
And you, T-Ross, you doing any jiu-jitsu or anything?
Me? No, my name is Steven. They call me Potsy.
Why the fuck am I saying T-Ross?
No, that's
because I'm saying the fucking name. I'm sorry.
No.
What is your name, Potsy?
They call me Potsy.
From Happy Days.
From Happy Days.
I love it.
Yeah, I was the only white guy in our basketball team in our school, and so it just stuck. It just stuck somehow. So we
said some semi-racist shit, like we called him Potsy from Happy Days, and it just stuck ever since. And now everybody calls him that.
Yeah. Are you guys on the same team now? And forgive me if I sound ignorant, man. I don't follow too many sports,
No, you're good. No. He's in the NBA. I played a little bit professional in Europe, and then the NBA D League. But no, I'm out of the sports world now, and I'm not taking classes. I wish I was. I'm going to when I come down there. I'm going to do some classes with him, but I'm trying to get into it.
Especially John Burke, man, at 6 levels, because it's jiu-jitsu. Ever since I got done fighting, like I'm 46 now. My last fight was a decade ago at 36. I haven't sparred one day since. I didn't take a punch since. But I do jiu-jitsu. Maybe I still do jiu-jitsu like 4 or 5 days a week. And I'm always there teaching and hanging out and just strangling people. You could do it. I still, you know what it is? I still feel dangerous as ever. And I'm not taking any more withdrawals from the bank. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Terrence, let's introduce him first, because we're getting.
I thought we started, dude. I thought we literally started.
Oh no, we are. We're recording.
Oh, yeah.
I want to know what
I want
the fans to know who you are. Because we got
I'm sorry.
that are basketball players, and we got fans that might not know who you are. But
100%.
We'd like to welcome you. We got a very special guest today on our show, a UFC Hall of Famer, a former UFC welterweight champion, and the co-host of the UFC Unfiltered podcast. Our special guest, Matt Serra.
There's no applause button on this fucking thing. No, I'm only kidding. I used to have that on my podcast. We had the little soundboard. Now we don't have, this is the time of fucking COVID. So we make do. Like I told you with my podcast, they just sent me a green screen. So,
fucking dope.
Living in Star Trek nowadays. It's fucking crazy.
That's what we need. It's a green screen.
Hey, man, speaking of martial arts, man, where'd your love for that begin, man?
You know, I was telling you guys earlier, you know, I don't follow much sports. Like I played as a kid with my friends, but you know, I didn't really follow much sports because my father wasn't really that guy to watch like football on Sundays or follow anything. But he did get me into like Bruce Lee and Kung Fu. My father did Wing Chun Kung Fu, and you know, all through my like my younger years and my up into my in my teens, like I'd be doing some Wing Chun, like not so much the forms, but like some combat drills like sticky hands and pak saos. It was a lot of fun, but you know, so he got me into that, and I watched Bruce Lee movies, and other kids were at Little League. I loved Enter the Dragon, Game of Death, and that's what I was really into. Like I liked my father, I would say, instilled that, you know, love of martial arts you know, into me.
That's great. Shit, Bruce Lee, that's the person to get you into MMA. Hey, that's a great start because, man, it turned out great. It turned out great.
It's funny, man. Like when I did that, like I do that, the stuff with my father, but anytime I got into a real situation, like a real fight, like as a kid, I'd start with like a chain punch, you know, like, and then the second it's like trapping, Wing Chun. It's not punching range. It's a step closer. It's trapping. So it's you just step away from getting grabbed. So I'd start off with something like that, and then I do a double leg just out of instinct. So when I was like, and then end up grappling, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, I only did a couple of years in junior high, but I used more of that in real fights as a kid than I did in any of the Wing Chun at all. So I was like, what's with that? You know, and you didn't understand as a kid. It's different. I'm a little bit older. I'm 46. I'm sure you guys are a lot younger. How old are you guys, if you don't mind me asking?
29.
29.
29. Yeah, you guys are really young. So you grew up with MMA pretty much. I mean, when I was growing up, and like, I hate to say, dude, it sounds funny, and your father's, no. But when I grew up, like, we didn't know what the fuck worked. You go to a karate school, they go, yeah, you do this will do this, and those will break his nose. You do this will break his knee. And then they had like Jeff Speakman, you had Steven Seagal. You don't know what worked. And then my father showed me at 17 years old, 1991, it was a tape of the Gracie family from Brazil. It's good. If you're an MMA fan, you should look up and get the Gracie in Action series. There's 2 tapes. And there might be more, but I doubt. Back then it was 2. Gracie in Action, and it was before MMA. It was all fights from Brazil of the Gracie family versus jiu-jitsu versus karate, jiu-jitsu versus boxing, and you see them it's basically like worse than UFC #1 in a sense where nobody knew what they were doing on the floor.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Style versus style, the jiu-jitsu man would just close the distance, get him down, mount, and just give a beating. Sorry, my family just got over here, the beeping on the fucking thing.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
This is what happens. But so I would see that. And as a kid, now listen, every guy in their town or whatever, they got that town tough guy and toughest kid in the high school. And I was that guy. So, I mean, you know, I always thought like, you know, I could take a black eye or a busted lip and keep fighting and whatnot. But I saw these tapes and I'm like, hey man, if I get mounted by one of these guys or I get fucking I don't want my arm broken, these guys can't get out. And it was horrifying. Sure. It was realistic. And it was real. It was real. It was raw. And when I saw the second tape of the series, I'm like, yo, and that was when they had some just challenge matches. Like you see Hoist Gracie in there and he would be closing the distance and getting these guys down. And I'm like, yo, I might be a tough guy, but I don't want to meet one of those little skinny Brazilian guys and not get them off me. I didn't like the feeling that there was somebody out there that could just kick my ass like that. So I had to learn that stuff.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie to you. That's why I kind of got into it because, I mean, I started getting UFC maybe like 2005. And that's when, who was heavyweight at the time? Like heavyweights were like Shane Carwin.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, for sure. Like these big guys. Like I remember Brock Lesnar had a little stint in there. So I remember that was kind of like the era I saw. And then I started getting like, and then John Jones started coming up the ranks, and that's who I kind of was like, that's my favorite fucking fighter, this and that. Yeah. And then I went to a couple fights. I went to a couple championship fights, and I sat like really kind of close to the cage, and I was just like, I'm hearing these thumps and these elbows land, and I was just like, bro, my stomach, it was just too much for my stomach. And after that, I was like, I don't know if I can go back to one of these fights. And then like in this during COVID, I was in this NBA bubble with the teams and that, and we couldn't go anywhere. And I remember there was like UFC fights on like every Friday. So like me and my team, a couple of my teammates, we would just go and watch them. And then all of a sudden I'm like, yo, I'm back into this. Like this is it. This is the shit. Like I don't know why I stopped watching. Yeah. And now I'm so far down this rabbit hole that I did all my research about the Gracie family, and I did all my research. I seen the video of Ixon getting ready for the Val Tudo in Brazil. And he whooping people's ass left and right. So I was just like, I got to see what this is about. And so I reached out to John. He was like, yeah, I've worked with those guys. I was like, no. I was like, no fucking way. He was like, yeah. So, and it's crazy. We're actually going to have Hoist on, I think, sooner than later, actually. He actually agreed to come onto the show. So I was just like, that's amazing. So, yeah, man. So talk a little bit about working under those guys and learning from the Gracie family, because that is, to me, like, you get no better knowledge, and they started this whole thing. So it's amazing to me.
Yeah, 100%. My first time ever on the mat taking an official lesson was under Hoist Gracie. He's not going to remember this, but it was Hoist Gracie and Horian, 1992, Waterbury, Connecticut. They'll remember that, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Waterbury, Connecticut, 92. Ron Kalowski's school, some Jeet Kune Do man, nice guy. And he had them down. We were in some kind of school in like a big gymnasium. Again, 1992, before the first UFC. And Horian was doing, Hoist's English wasn't, he was a little quieter back then. It wasn't the best. Mm-hmm. And, I was 18 years old. I did a road trip with my buddy. And, I remember them talking about they're doing this thing that's going to be on pay-per-view. And if you know anybody interested as qualifications and that they were talking about possibly, different, like maybe putting a moat with fucking alligators around it. I'm not even bullshitting you. It wasn't originally when you think about when they were first talking about the ideas of, it wasn't there was a cage was an idea. There was, I don't know if it was a pit. There was a thing with the alligators. Ask Hoist. Ask him this stuff. They didn't bring it up to you. They did not, when they were they were thinking about, before they came up with the octagon. And who came up with that was John Milius, the guy who made Conan. Did you know this shit?
Really?
No. Yeah, I might be all over the place, but this is wild. This is real shit. Yeah, John Milius was good friends with Horian Gracie. And Horian's the original, he originated he started up the whole UFC. He's the one who, the creator of it, pretty much. Yeah. Yep. Who started this whole thing up. So they were thinking of the concepts, and that's what he came to them with, is this octagon. And it's fucking crazy, man.
That's how it goes. It's just random people get together, and next you know.
Yeah. I was
alligator or a moat. Yeah. No, a moat with alligators would have been a sight to see. I would pay pay-per-view money for that. No, for sure.
I'm telling you, man,
that's crazy.
I'm bringing up the Hoist.
No, I'm all this is going up here. I'm bringing up all this.
Hey, sure. So Matt, when I read that you were the first American to get his black belt under Renzo Gracie, is that true?
100%. So what happened was, I did that lesson with those guys, and I loved it. And I was like, I was thinking about moving to California because they were in Torrance. Yep. And then a couple of years later, this guy, Craig Kukuk, he's the first American to get a black belt from the Gracie family. But then they had like a falling out, and then they like disowned him. But you can't take away the guy's knowledge. You already did jiu-jitsu. Sure. So whatever the politics was, I didn't know. But he teamed up with Renzo Gracie, and they made like a video series. And he was moving to New Jersey, doing 1 day a week in Manhattan, in like the Village over there. So at a judo club. So I found out where that was. So at like 19 or 20, that's where I was going, once a week. But it was only 1 day a week. That was the only thing available for jiu-jitsu. Yeah. So I was like jonesing, man. I put some mats in my garage. I was doing some flow drills up and down the mat with my brothers. And I was just, I do another private lesson eventually. I go to Red Bank, New Jersey. So from Long Island to Red Bank is like 2.5 hours. It's almost Atlantic City, Man, but I would do that to get an hour private lesson with this guy to learn this thing. It's not like nowadays you could jump on YouTube and pick up a few things as long as it's from the right people. And you got like all this information overload almost. Back then in the 90s, nothing. Maybe 2 places on the East Coast. Steve Maxwell, who was still with the Torrance crew with Horian and Hoist and them, he was in Philly. And then this guy, Craig Kukuk, And so he was Renzo's American business partner. He ended up getting 3 days a week eventually. And then Renzo moves to Manhattan, I think in 1996, which was a couple of years later. I was a blue belt by then under Craig, and they had a Gracie Kukuk Academy on 27th Street in Manhattan. And they had that for a few years. And again, that was basically my college, man. I would do all night security at night, 12 to 8 in the morning, shitty clip-on tie and a thing the size of a phone booth outside the Estee Lauder makeup building. And it was horrible. And it was, I'd sleep a little when I could, jump on the train in the afternoon, train in the city, go back, go in the booth. So Renzo Gracie, Master Renzo, who's like family to me, saw me, I was one of his top guys, because, I was putting a lot of time into it, but he noticed I was I was breathing a little heavy. I was getting tired, and he was giving me shit. And I was just telling him, dude, I'm just tired, man. I'm tired. I'm not sleeping well. I mean, I'm in a fucking booth. I go, I'm almost snapping, I'm losing it. And when you don't, and I'm telling you right now, I don't know how these guys do it. You're not meant to stay up all night. We're not nocturnal animals, man. I thought I was losing my mind. A little bit. So this is why I love Renzo, man. So that was so I was basically just venting to him, and he goes, fuck that job. This is your job. He goes, come here, get out of there. You work for me. Have you teach some classes, maybe clean the bathrooms. Advice. Dude, the next day, I fucking went to the super pharmacy in there in the city, and I got all the supplies, and I put the rubber gloves on. Happiest dude ever with my gi pants on, scrubbing the toilets. I didn't give a shit. And then that was my life ever since, Renzo gave me that opportunity. He took me to Japan to corner him as a purple belt. Awesome. He's a big thing. So Renzo, I can't say enough about,
That's amazing.
Me under his wing,
Okay, well, let's lead to kind of a earlier question or a different question. How were the early years in the UFC? Because now, I mean, when you look at it now, like the UFC is this multi-billion-dollar corporation, and it's fight nights in Abu Dhabi, and it's this and that, and people are getting these crazy bonuses and
Fight Island.
But I remember
I just got back from there, man.
Hey.
It's nice, right? Yeah, it's probably a nice little vacation. It's perfect place to fight during a pandemic. But
yeah, man.
I mean, I know it's grown so much, but how are the earlier days? Because when you see the earlier days, I used to watch videos of the earlier days where the fence is breaking, people are going through the fence, there's all types of different sponsors everywhere. Crazy.
It's weird. I didn't fight in the old SEG days. SEG, was it? The Bob Marowitz and those. I didn't fight in those days. I was like the second event that Zuffa took over with Dana, Lorenzo, Frank, the Fertitta brothers. So my first fight was 2001, and it was UFC 31 versus Shoney Carter. So that was my very first fight in Atlantic City, and I lost by spinning back fist, and it became they didn't have, if they had going viral back then, it was the equivalent of that. Good thing they didn't have social media. It still pops up, some prick fan that wants to take a shot at me, but it was so funny, man. Because this is it's such a game of inches, and if you ever want to watch that fight on Fight Pass, it's a fun fight. I mean, I was fresh off of, it's weird. It's very strange, my whole personal journey with fighting and MMA and because at the time I had to, listen, I went from a street fighting kid to developing this, philosophy when the beginning, especially with jiu-jitsu, was don't exchange, never exchange. Close that distance, get the fight to the floor, take care of business. That became my philosophy because that was the Gracie way, But the sport evolved, you know what I mean? The sport was evolving, and it wasn't that easy anymore. It wasn't UFC number 1. It wasn't UFC number fucking 20-something. Now, everybody in there is at least a blue belt. At least the guy that, even if you roll with that guy for half an hour, you could tap him like a typewriter maybe after 15 minutes. He maybe be able to fight you off with shorts on. You're slippery for 5 minutes. Plus, jiu-jitsu in the street, it's different than it is like if you guys are just together and somebody breaks into your house or you're in a warehouse dropped off with somebody and it's just you guys and one guy can leave, one guy can't, that type of thing, phenomenal. But when you're in a cage, when you're in an MMA match, and you got, it's like speed chess. You can't be as patient as you Because all of a sudden people start to boo. Even not, you could have a uppity ref being like, hey, you got to. So it's like you can't be as patient. You know what I mean? So with my personal journey, I had to go from street fighting mentality to get rid of that, adapt this mentality of just being a straight up jiu-jitsu man, getting the fight to the floor, do not exchange, and then have to relearn to actually trust in my coach Ray Longo and be like, look, man, the sport is changing. You have to evolve with it. And if I did not evolve, thank God I'm blessed with heavy hands. If I did not evolve, I'm not taking out GSP. I'm not knocking out Frank Trigg.
So that's another question. So you've been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu pretty much, it sounds like you're pretty much your whole life now.
Yes.
But so when you started doing that, when did the stand-up come in? Because I know with jiu-jitsu, it's all about getting to the ground and moving. It's like a chess game. It's just really, it's a lot going on. So like right now, even for me learning, I'm just trying to get like the defense tactics and just trying to understand like what moves. Because once you get the moves, it's all about seeing it and just seeing the situation or seeing how you're moving and reading it. So for me, this is all like completely alien, foreign. Like it's hard for me to wrap my head around it. So I was just like, okay, let me learn some stand-up because I know the stand-up would probably come a little easier. Yeah. But do you learn those together or did you learn one before the other?
I mean, it's weird. Like I actually at 18, before I ever fought MMA or anything, I fought a tough man contest in Manhattan at an old club called the Palladium. The referee was the Mr. T. You know who Mr. T is?
Yes, of course. Mr. Cover Lane. That's who I remember him at. Yeah.
He was the ref.
He was the referee. Yeah.
Did he have the gold chains on?
What's that? Yeah, I don't know if he had him then, but he was he was there. He was hysterical. Awesome. But this is when I was 18 years old. So I knocked out a couple of guys, and I never sparred a day in my life. My buddy, my old friend Jim McCluskey, was a pro boxer. He came with me and he goes, look, it was all heavyweights, 175 and up, and I just made the weight. I just made the weight limit. I waited with my weight clothes on. It was all big dudes. And I never sparred a day in my life back then. So, I mean, but I was a street fighting kid, So my buddy goes, look, just stand like this, you're less of a target. That's all I never sparred. So that's pretty much the advice I had. So I went in there kind of like feral, and I even got a clip of it. I found it in my garage the other day. It was an old VHS tape. It was on Entertainment Tonight. You see Mary Tyler Moore, whatever her name is, like, who's the chick? Who's the fucking, I don't know, but she was like raising her eyebrows. But anyway, I had a mohawk. I knocked two guys out, and I got stopped in the last round. So I knew how to somewhat hurt people. I knew I had some power in there before I had to actually let that go and again adapt the jiu-jitsu philosophy. Yeah. You know what I mean? Also, not to gross you guys out, because I always do when I do this. In that, I got fucked up more in that tough man contest than any of my fights in the UFC.
Really?
I mean, the UFC.
I'm guessing.
No cuts. I mean, in the other one, but more of a concussion. I was definitely concussed after that fucking tough man. You don't supposed to be fighting three guys heavyweights in an hour. It was fucking, it was shady as fuck. But anyway, my last one, I had my mouth open, and I got hit with my mouth open. It didn't break my jaw. They said it wasn't broken, but when I went to bite, it was misaligned. So to this day.
Oh my God.
No way, bro.
Yeah. So it sounds weird, right? So
that's crazy.
Yeah. And it was bad news. So, but Ray Longo, who I brought up earlier, he's my, he's my striking coach and one of my closest friends. He also is like my conditioning coach. Everybody nowadays he's like an old school, like trainer. Like he was, had kickboxing champions before this and he's a Jeet Kune Do guy. You ever hear of Ray Longo, Chris Weidman's trainer, punch a hole in his fucking chest? That guy who gave that advice to Chris Weidman when he took out Anderson Silva?
Yep.
You guys got to talk to him if you want to talk to somebody. But anyway, he's a character. But he would always, like when I told you earlier when I was training at Craig Kukuk's, we only had 3 days a week available to us. So that guy, Ray Longo, who became my trainer eventually, I met him down there. I seen him down there. I met him earlier at another time, when I visited his school and whatnot. But he's such a nice guy. He gave me the key to his Jeet Kune Do school to get some extra mat time in. You know what I mean? So that's how I became friends with him. And then because I was so engulfed in the jiu-jitsu, I didn't even give a fuck about the stand-up. But he would be like, listen, you should do the Thai pads. It helps your endurance. There's nothing like the endurance with the Thai pads. And I would be doing stuff like that. Next thing you know, he was like getting me, my conditioning with him. He would get me running hills and doing the Thai pads and it was helping my jiu-jitsu. I was going to Brazil and I was competing versus these Brazilians in the Pan Ams, and I was burning these guys out because technique was right there. And then I had more because of the training I had with this guy, Ray Longo, and a lot of it was from the Thai pad. So I was starting to really enjoy the striking, you know what I mean?
So it all came together too.
Got me involved with that,
Hey, back to your street fights. Were you fucking people up with jiu-jitsu in your street fights?
Towards the end of my street fighting career, I had a couple of fights. I got into some fights in high school and stuff, and that's normal. But
for sure.
As far as with jiu-jitsu, there was a couple
Did you have to use it?
A couple of times, yes. I had to. I
put it on.
I had to take a few guys out in like a house party or whatnot. And, it's very, you're a kid,
Yeah.
But,
for sure.
mount, put a guy to sleep and whatnot.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But I would use my jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, you were pulling it out on people.
I wasn't a punk I was never really a punk, but I'd be a quick guy to
defend yourself. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Throw down or stick up for somebody, that kind of thing.
Hey, So you talked about it earlier, the GSP. I know that's one of your biggest fights of your career, and I was rewatching it. It's electric, obviously. I mean, take us through that whole day, that whole event, the feelings with that. Yeah,
no, you know what? No, that was great. Listen, that was my Rocky movie. I'm not a delusional guy. I knew why people were rooting against me. And what we were just talking about developing like the stand up and when did you switch to that? Besides the Carol Parisian fight, which I had to work around, I couldn't really, no excuses. I had a meniscus thing where it affected my feet to floor. So I couldn't do takedowns and whatnot. I practiced some jiu-jitsu, but I couldn't do normally when we're sparring, you try to mimic the fight as much as possible. Yeah. So when it gets close, even though you mix up your days or just stand up and whatnot, and but you want to have the feet to the floor. Like in other words, mimic the fight. I do it with 16-ounce gloves. You strike, you punch, you take down. The takedown thing was a problem because of my knee. It's a weird thing. It helped me, and in hindsight, the best thing that ever happened to me. I did so much boxing for that fight, and I ended up losing that fight. I got gassed out. Almost knocked him out in the opening seconds. Yep. I rolled. I came back. Almost laid him out. He weathered it, and he's the type of guy that isn't getting tired. I got tired in that one, and I shot my wad. I made it through. Thank God for some arm lock escapes and some. My jiu-jitsu served me in that fight, especially defensively, because I didn't have to say uncle, which I'm very proud of. And but I was exhausted, and I learned some valuable things from that fight. Why the fuck did I bring that up? Bring me back. My ADD.
I think you're talking about stand-up. You're talking about the stand-up with GSP.
GSP, yep.
So this is the thing. Every fight besides that fight with Carol, where I was kind of forced to do my stand-up, I would always have the same goal. And the goal is you could mix it up a little bit, but your goal is to get them down. Because I know most guys, I'd be on a different level on the floor with them. But the problem is when I was going to fight GSP. So that was always my philosophy. Even when I fought in tough, I kind of fought like that. I didn't really trust in my power the way I did, as a kid or in that tough man contest. I never did. I still have in my back of mind that philosophy of never trade because you could get caught and whatnot. I had to get rid of that mentality. You know what I mean? And Longo really beat it into my head for that GSP fight where he's like, look at you, what you're doing with 16-ounce gloves to some of these guys. And, this one, it's not really bragging. It is what it is. I broke my one buddy's jaw with a 16-ounce gloves over at Henzo's in Manhattan, my Canadian buddy. And that was with a 16-ounce gloves. And I also, I've had some good days with 16-ounce gloves on where Joe, he's like, what do you think's going to happen if you hit George's head with the same shot you hit Dan with tonight? What do you think's going to fucking happen? What is this guy, superhuman? You're going to fucking lay him out. And the shit he's throwing at you, you're seeing it because he had the guys mimic some of. That's why when you see George throwing the stuff, it was fucking some really shit because I felt like I seen it and it wasn't slow. It was just reaction because we had the fight set and then it got pushed back because he got hurt. So it was almost like I had 6 months to have guys mimic stuff throwing at me. So he's throwing a kick, my leg's coming up, I'm blocking, I'm coming back. And it just felt so reaction. It felt so reactionary.
Yeah.
It felt reactionary. It did not feel. I felt like a good day of sparring is what it felt like. Actually, you know what I mean. So it felt great, but leading into it, because I had that background of getting the fight to the floor, I understand why guys were like, hey, this guy has no shot. Because I looked at that fight with George and I'm like, all right, you got guys. Not necessarily better fighters than myself, because, I take pride in my skills. But let's look at guys like Matt Hughes, Sean Shirk, Frank Trigg, Mayhem Miller. Realistically, they're all probably better straight-up wrestlers than me for getting the fight to the floor. None of them had success with GSP on getting that fight to the floor.
Yeah.
So why the fuck should I think I would have success with that?
Mm-hmm.
If I did not have the trust in my hands for that, then, and it was almost like an ace up my sleeve because he felt – I wasn't a threat at all up there because that was never my game plan really to stand up. The Frank Trigg fight came later. I always like to bring that shit up because that guy.
What'd you do after the fight? What do you do after the fight after you win a title? Like what'd you do?
Yeah, what's the first thing you do? You just kick it with the belt all day? You just don't let people take it off.
What's funny with that? We were in Texas, and no after party, nothing like that. Damn. I mean, listen, I don't even. I knew it was something. Like that thing, people are still bringing that shit. I'm 46. That happened when I was 32. That's why? It's partly because GSP is such an amazing fighter. You know what I mean? And, he's never lost since. And the stuff he's done is just amazing. He's a true, that's a true fucking one of the best, I have no delusions. That's phenomenal. I had my Rocky movie. I had my best night with the best guy. I'm okay with that. The rematch, he beat me up. It's all good. It's all good. But I love George. George is actually a great, great guy.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
for sure.
It was just a great day in the office.
Okay, I got a question.
Yes, hit me, Terrence.
All right. Who's one of your favorite fighters today, and who do you see is going to be like a real problem down the line?
Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain Sterling. Well, listen,
Sterling?
I'm very biased to my guys because I'm very close with them. But that's not the point. Aljo is fighting. Are you familiar with Aljo Sterling?
No, no.
Oh my God, the Funk Master. You're good, Terrence. You're gonna go back to this and you're gonna say, "Holy fuck,
trust me,
man!"
I will.
You're gonna say, "My bad." I want you to look him up. I'm sure you have Fight Pass, right?
Yeah, I got it.
Look up Aljamain Sterling, Aljo Sterling, the Funk Master. Look him up after this.
Got it.
And dude, he's a great interview too. You'd love to have him on. I'm trusting me. And he's fighting Peter Yan.
Yep.
For the for the 135-pound title, and that's going to be December 12th. You know what I mean?
12th. Sure, we'll
so I feel you're going to be looking at a new champion. And did you see Corey Sandhagen's last fight?
I did. I was surprised. I wasn't surprised, but it was a really, really good fight. He dominated that fight.
And now listen, this doesn't mean he'd do this 10 out of 10 times, but I think Corey's fight before that was versus Aljo.
Yeah, okay.
And Aljo we were ready for a war because that's how high in regard we hold Corey Sandhagen. He's a stud. What he did to Marlon, he did to a lot of people. The guy's a stud. Aljo took him down, took his back, and strangled him unconscious. That's why he's fighting for the title. So I want you to watch that fight. Terrence, you got my number. On my checklist. I want you to text me after you watch this fight.
Trust me, I watched every week for the last 3 weeks. I've been watching every single card, every single week. I've been talking to everybody. I'm like, yo, I'm back into this shit. I'm diving in.
This guy is, and he's funny as hell. He does he's great. I can't say enough about Aljo. Listen, and I also just got the word yesterday that he's fighting for the title, so I'm overjoyed.
You're jacked.
I'm jacked up. I'm jacked.
I feel you.
Yeah, and his buddy, we also have one of his main training partners, Marab. Goddamn, I wish I could pronounce his last name. Devilasvili. I'm gonna fucking kill it. He's a Georgian fighter.
Okay.
He just beat Dotson. You know Dotson.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Yes, Dotson was amazing. And he's the one who runs and does the cartwheels off the cage, and he just beat Dotson the way nobody beat Dotson. And he's just an unbelievable fighter as well. And again, we all, Ally Quinta, Chris Weidman. My guys, I'm all about my guys, But as far as up and comers, that dude Kamzat looks like a badass.
I was gonna ask you about I've seen some guys like you see like the superstars come in, they dominate, but this guy is like almost not even playing. Like the way he's fighting people is like he rushes, he picks you up, he takes you to his corner, and then he just gets that full mount, and then it's just bad.
This is what I'm going to say. This is what I'm going to say. I'm a fan. I like his attitude. I want to smash everybody like the Hulk. He's fucking hysterical. I want to, and I don't want to say expecting more from Gerald. I love Gerald Meerschaert. Yep. Gerald Meerschaert's a stud, but he got caught. He went in there and he got and Kamzat got him. So credit to Kamzat. And he took him out early, so you can't really say, man, but he's yet to really be tested. I want to see him go. Yeah. And Gerald, I thought, was a guy that maybe could test him. But he got him in the opening fucking punch. So I still want to see the other two guys we never heard of. No offense. The guys that he took out.
Yeah.
I was in the pool with that guy earlier in Abu Dhabi. I was there for that first fight. And I was there live for that thing. And one guy was going to be and one guy had no ground game and the other guy was unknown. And so I'm just saying, so Gerald was the first test, but he got taken out with the first punch. I need to see more, and I'm sure I'm going to. So definitely not shitting on him.
No, for sure. And I see him, shot like challenging guys who are ranked. And I know a lot of guys don't want to do that just because, he really hasn't he hasn't been tested. He hasn't really been proven. But like, where does he go from here? Like, what does he do? He's going to have to take some more like smaller fights before he gets there. But like, how fast do you think he could actually be fighting for a belt?
I think it depends on who he takes out next. He's making quite the splash. Dana seems to be very high on him, saying, man, he's never seen a guy
he loves him.
And rightfully so. Listen, the guy's got the right attitude. I love the guy's. I see the clip of him. He's like,
he's so confident.
Oh man! First of all, he's hysterical in his own way because he's shit talking with Gerald. I saw the press conference, and he's going to him, and he's like snickering. He's like snickering to himself. He's like you like Connor's friend Atum Lobov. He's like laughing at the fucking. It is hysterical.
Yeah, I do like him. Yeah, he's fun. He's a funny guy. I can tell because he chuckles. He said like these little things under his breath. They just plays it off. But hey, man, you gotta talk your shit. And I think Darren Till, his name's Darren Till, right? He was shouting him, or he was calling him out. I would love to see that. I would fucking love to see it. Because there's other people calling him out, but I feel like that would be the fight for me to see. And if he can get past him, then he's a real fucking problem. He's gonna be a real fucking problem. Everybody keeps talking to me about this guy, and I'm like, he's had 3 fights in 60 days. Like, okay. And then seeing the actual fights, we're like, oh fuck, like this guy. I was super shocked, but
he's the real deal, man. These guys come from a different way of life over there.
Different world.
I remember,
man.
And also in the press conference, I remember hearing him saying like, 15 minutes. I could fight for an hour in the street. I'm like, what the fuck? What are they doing? What's going on in these fucking mountains of Dagestan or wherever he's from? He's from Dagestan. Is he Dagestan?
I'm not sure.
He's from somewhere where they're wrestling bears and caves and fucking tapping them out because they're doing unreal shit in the ring right now. It just doesn't make sense.
Hey man, speaking of another fight that just got announced, what about the Conor Dustin Poirier fight? What do you think of that?
Is it official?
I don't know. I thought
Conor agreed to it, which could mean anything in the next 2 weeks. Like, I don't know. Until there's like data comes out and say, yeah, it's confirmed, we got contracts on. That's when I'm not gonna jump into this because just 2 weeks ago he's talking about fighting Manny Pacquiao. So I would love to see Conor back in the ring. It would be a show.
I would be. The thing is this, like, he knows what he's getting out of Dustin as far as standing up. I would give him all the credit in the world to take that fight because, Dustin is not an easy fight for anybody, and it's going to be hard to outdo what he did last time. So where really is the upside? The one thing I do notice, and I saw Dana said this, and I was actually talking about him with him one time. when we were over there with Dana and in Abu Dhabi. When guys seem to be getting a lot of attention, fucking the other guys kind of started shooting out some tweets that he's gonna box Manny, and he was doing this when Izzy was getting a lot of Israel Adesanya was getting a lot lot of attention with the stand down with Costa and trending well.
I heard he was doing that.
It's almost like he gets a little like jealous or something. He wants you can't like it's weird, man. Like listen, you can have all the money in the world, but I think this guy likes the spotlight more than anything.
Very true. You know? That's very true.
He's a showman, bro. That's what sells Conor. He's gonna put on a show regardless if it's gonna be over the top or whatever. He's gonna put on a show, and I think people really like that because then it just adds fuel to that fire. But yeah, I did notice that for the last, especially there's been a ton of big fights in the last like month or so. So he's been kind of a little more active lately, and I'm just like, I get it, bro. Like you when you fight Floyd, you're probably gonna get the craziest attention you've ever. And I mean, I can see why he would want to do that. But I mean, I just want to see him show up. Yeah. Just show up and I'll be happy. I
mean, Dustin, listen, I would love that for Dustin, man.
But we'll see.
Yeah, I want Dustin to get that payday. So I would love that for Dustin. You know?
And I want him to win too. I like Conor, but I mean, fuck it, man. I want Dustin to win.
Yeah, me too,
for sure.
Me too.
Yeah.
So
what else, guys? What else we got?
Does anyone remind you of yourself in the fighting today? Do you see anybody like that?
No, that not really. I mean, I think everybody's got their own unique style, you know, and things evolve. And
that's a cool thing about UFC also is that everyone is different in a way. It's hard to be. It's hard to be the same. I mean, I know it's in every sport, but it really stands out in UFC. I think to me.
Yeah, I mean. You know, you'll see things here and there where you're like, oh, but you know, I think everybody's got their own little unique style, you know, that's what's so great about this thing. I'll tell you, not only, you know, I'm a lucky dude to still be even relevant. Like I don't know if you guys watch, but I'll give it a plug on here. It does well on YouTube. It's called Dana White Looking for a Fight. And there's also Dana White Looking Forward to a Fight. That's what I was just doing in Fight Island. And it's myself, Dana White, and my buddy Dean Thomas, who I actually fought back in the day. You guys, have you ever heard it? Hold on. Did you guys ever hear it? Wait, hold on. Don't say nothing yet. Don't even pretend like I want to film this. Because
okay.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let me shut my thing off. Hold on. Let me shut my why do I have the you guys could you guys see
the flashlight?
I have to shut the fucking light off.
Yeah, I was like, is that
why do I have the light off? No, we have to do this. Because I gotta ask you guys something. I'm shutting the thing off. Okay.
Got it.
All right. Come on. Ready? Is it recording? It's recording.
Yep.
All right. Terrence, Potsy. Have you guys ever heard of Dean Thomas?
Never.
No. Not once.
We feel young. We must be young.
You motherfucker. Oh, okay. Listen, Dean Thomas is a buddy of mine. He's on the show with me. That was fun. You guys, I'm just a prick, guys. I'm just a bitch.
I was like,
But listen, Dean Thomas, he was a coach over at American Top Team. He's a former fighter, stud guy. He's also a funny guy. He does the show with myself and Dana White. And the show is, did you ever hear of the show or no? It's okay if you didn't.
Mm-mm.
All right, it's called Dana White Looking for a Fight. It's awesome, dude. It's got like 2 million views on YouTube. It's nice. Myself and the crew, the guys that I said, we go around to what it was, the original thing. We've been doing it for the last 5 years. We go around to different states, even countries. Went over to Mexico, and we look for upcoming fighters. And when we're in that state or country, whatever it is, we do some wacky shit. Like we did in Texas, we rode bulls, literally.
Hey.
In Alaska, we did the dog sledding.
Yep.
In LA, we went to the Laugh Factory. We did stand-up comedy. You like this shit, man. I'm telling you. And you'll see some guys in the UFC
for sure. I'm checking it out.
That we found on the show.
That's some
so
shit
now,
we do.
Wow. So it's such a fucking blast, man. And so that's why I was just in Fight Island shooting the show. And we did pearl diving. It was Michael Bisping was on that show. So if you guys get a chance, you and your audience, check it out, man, because you'll dig it. So anyway, like I was saying, man, I started fighting in 2001. I'm still lucky to be relevant somehow. So I'm doing the show with Jimmy Norton, the UFC Unfiltered.
Yep.
And we do this other thing, like I just told you. And now that there's no fights going on, it's a weird time. We do looking forward to a fight. Dana White looking forward to a fight. So we like kind of gas up we went to Abu Dhabi just now, Yas Island, Fight Island, and you know, we did them different stuff there, like cooked Middle Eastern food and like I said earlier, pearl diving, and we did. I don't know if you guys ever seen those things with the. It's the world's biggest one, skydiving, indoor skydiving. Like the fucking indoor one.
Or ice sky. Yeah.
Oh, dude, so freaky, man. I did that with Bisping, and he was flipping out on that. It's such a good show. Check it out, man. You'll dig it.
Watch it.
Hey,
for sure.
Talk about working with Jim Norton. He's a character, and I just want to know how it is working with him. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's so funny. I was doing the episode of Looking for a Fight, and we were in the woods. Me and Dana, I had to spend the night in a tent with Dana. I told Dana, we have some life experiences, me and Dana. Like, so this episode, we were out in the woods, right? And so we're bullshitting, and he goes, "Look, I'm looking to do a podcast for the UFC, and I want you to do it." I'm like, and at the time, you know, my schools are going well. We were doing the show a little bit more often, and I'm like, I don't want to really complicate things. This is a nice retired life for me from the fighting. You know, I have my jiu-jitsu school now since COVID, this motherfucker. But, you know, that's what I do forever. I've been teaching jiu-jitsu, and it's what I like to do, you know? So I got that, and then I got the show. I don't want to really put anything else on my plate. I'm kind of a relaxed guy. And he goes, "Look, give it a try. And, you know, if you don't like it, you don't like it." So then he said that I was going to be, you know, if I knew Jimmy, you know, he brought up Jim Norton. And that's what really got me kind of like into it. Like, I'm like, I met Jimmy because I did the old Opie and Anthony show. You ever hear that? I'm sure.
I have.
Yeah, it's a popular radio show from back in the day. So I met him there because I did that when I used to promote fights from when I was fighting. I'd stop in the city and I did the show, and I met him a few times. He was always such a good dude. And I go, "Man, I'll give it a try," you know? So now here we are, like 5 years later, 6 years, whatever, 4 years later. We're having a great time though, man. I really, Jimmy's one of my, like Jimmy's such a genuine dude. I really just love that dude. And we're super close. And I'll tell you, man, I hope we do that forever, that fucking show. Because I have such a good time with that guy. You know? That's the only thing I miss going to the city, because I miss seeing the guy. You know?
Yeah.
I see him, but don't get me wrong. This is actually fucking cool too.
Yeah, that is a dope ass green screen.
It's hard to see anybody in 2020, right, man? This whole pandemic is keeping everybody separate. It's annoying, bro.
Tell me about it.
I hate it right now.
Hey, so me and Terrence have been having this debate. He asked me a couple weeks ago, who obviously it'll be different for us than it is for you, but who is the greatest fighter in your opinion of all time?
Greatest fighter of all time?
To you.
Man.
There's a difference too, because greatest is different from the best.
Yeah.
It's like the greatest career, or like the, you know, best overall, not the best, but the greatest overall career.
See, it's strange. I mean, like Demetrius Johnson, you got to say he's up there. He was phenomenal.
Mighty Mouse, yeah.
You know, George St. Pierre, you got to say. I mean, you know what's weird now? You got to say George is up there. GSP is up there. If not, I mean, we're talking pound for pound, right? Like,
pound for pound.
I mean, when you think about what George did, like, he went back and he beat Michael Bisping at middleweight. No, and I don't think nobody made that big a deal about that. They did. This is the difference. There's so many fights now that things get short-lived, and that was a fucking amazing. He knocked him down with a left hook and he strangled him. I mean, and who did that? Nobody's done that. So I don't know. He's up there. I don't know. It's a very rough question.
What's your thoughts on John Jones?
Shit, man! Of course, John Jones is up there.
That's what I said. I was like, John. I don't know.
Oh, man. Shit! I mean, listen. This is the problem with this question.
His own shit going on and off the outside the ring, but nonetheless, his skill's crazy.
Yeah, he's phenomenal, John Jones. Jones is phenomenal,
man. And fun guy.
I think it's almost hysterical that he can go and fucking party and then kick the shit out of the best fighters on the planet.
Man, I saw his podcast with Rogan, and my whole mind was blown just by what he's able to do. Because people can't do that. Like, there's not too many guys that can go out there, have a good time, and then show up and just completely dominate. Like,
it's wild.
I don't know. He's a special fighter. But I had him up there. my two, I think I said, were like GSP and John Jones. So
that's a good two. That's a good two. You know.
Awesome.
I mean, I'm up there with that. It's rough, man. Because then I'll think about some more, and I'll be like, yeah, but what,
Yeah.
I'm a fan of them all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
I love that we're having fights every week. You know what I mean?
It's growing so much, man. It's getting so big.
Quick too.
Fucking love it, man. I love it.
There's fights on this weekend.
Yeah.
I'm watching, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Brian Ortega, T-City.
I just did it. Who's the main event?
Brian Ortega.
Oh, fuck yeah. Versus Korean Zombie. I literally just talked to the Korean Zombie yesterday.
He's so funny. He's a funny guy to me. I don't know why, but he seems funny. He's always looking like he's having a good time out there. I'll be watching on my Instagram sparring. So I'm excited for that fight. I hope T-City wins, but that's going to be a good one.
T-City, 4th round submission.
Oh,
predict it.
Is that
Don't
a bet?
stay in the fence.
Should I bet that? Should I bet it?
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't. Don't bet. Don't. Not on my advice. On this game, I'm not a bettor, but that's what I went with. So this is such a hard game to predict, man.
Yeah,
it really is.
For sure. Anything can happen.
That's why we watch it, because anything could happen, and you really see some beautiful stuff in there, man. Not.
It's art.
I was saying beautiful stuff. I segue right into Mackenzie Dern. I'm thinking of her arm lock she did. It was so beautiful. I love nice, clean jiu-jitsu technique. I love seeing that as much as I see in any kind of knockout.
I love it.
You know what I mean? So, hey, man,
I love
you guys are
more.
fans, I'm a fan, man. I watch every week. I love it, man.
Love it.
Love it. You know?
Well, Matt, man, this is awesome. How about you shout out everything you got going? I know you talked about it a little bit, but shout out where people can find you on Instagram. Shout out the shows you got.
Yeah, man. Well, Instagram, it's Matt Serra BJJ on Instagram. And that's it, man. I got the UFC Unfiltered podcast with the great Jim Norton. Yep. And then I do, if you guys want to type into YouTube, Dana White looking for a fight or looking forward to a fight. It's all fun stuff. You know, got
it,
man. This is awesome. We'll have to have you back on, and we'll talk more UFC,
thank you
man.
So much, man.
You guys are gonna look up Aljo Funkmaster Sterling after this, aren't you?
Yep.
You're gonna thank me, man.
I wrote it down. I'm about to
Terrence,
look at all this.
You're gonna thank me, man.
Hey, man, if you can connect us with him,
I'm gonna
text
awesome. You every time there's a fight. I'm texting you.
He's fighting.
Get ready.
He's fighting for the title. He's fighting for the title. I'm so psyched.
You just made me a fan. You just made me a fan.
I'm gonna send you when you guys want to talk to him. You let me know. I'll put you in touch.
Love it, man.
Yes, sir. Yes,
awesome,
sir.
Guys.
Appreciate you so much for this.
Thanks for having me, man. Good luck with this thing. All right.
Yes, no worries. Talk to you soon.
Take care, guys.
Yep.
All my best.
Sir.
Sir.